Hello, Dijon here. In the comics portion of episode 130 of the Mustercast, we go over what books we've been reading lately and review the final issue of Wonder Woman Historia, The Amazons. Please enjoy. Moving on to comics, what have you guys been reading lately? Why don't you start, Bree?
So I haven't really been reading comics like that. I've been kind of been focusing on making my own, which is oh my gosh, it's such a tedious process. But on Instagram where you're like scrolling through reels or like people's stories and then like an ad for a manga will pop up. Sometimes I look at snippets of those and like the title will be absurdly long. So the one that I read recently was like, "Oh, my husband was cheating on me for 5 years, but now I get to see his downfall." And I'm like, "Okay." And so I start reading it and I'm like, "He's cheating? This seems like really happy-go-lucky." And then it just took a turn where
Oh,
like
Look,
she's been like documenting the cheating ever since they've been together because he's a businessman that works in Tokyo and she works in like her hometown. So like they have like a long distance relationship going on. And I was like, wow, this plot is really generic, but like I like drama and romance
yeah,
at the same time. So, but also the woman that he's cheating on her with is like very upfront about it. Like I don't know. I don't know how she didn't crash out, but I probably would have.
yeah.
yeah, I mentioned it very briefly and cut it out of a comic section a few episodes ago before you joined about how I read a lot of, and Instagram is at fault for those ads.
Yes.
There's
I just read it because I like the story. I just be
Yes,
enjoy.
the plots
I
are
just
always so good
I
sometimes.
I enjoy the story
uh
and the art. I always look for the ones with really good art because some of them be having like the worst art you've ever seen in your life, but others
Yeah.
no for
are
real.
incredible. You gotta dodge the bad to find the good. And
Hmm.
I got there's two websites for manhwa that I read, and I have like five stories on each that I'm reading.
There's one that I think is a banger, but I don't want to pay to read the rest. It's like you might have to cut this out, but like it's has my guy friend always been this good at sex, I think. They're like gamer friends or whatever, and like they were in the living room and he was like, if I lose this bet, then I gotta like do this thing in front of you. And she's like, what? And like, I don't, the art is just really good. And then like from there on, their interactions have been like so like cute, but also intimate. And like there's good plot with it. So I was like, hey,
I love the ones where
maybe.
like you go like 10 chapters with no sex, and you're like, that's how you know the story's good because they forgot about the
Hmm.
sex and just
Yeah.
started writing a story.
Yeah.
That's how I am with the side story of this other mama. It's called Sadistic Beauty, and I don't care about like the original plot, but they have this side story between these two women. They're both actors, and like one of them is playing a role where she's like really, really like mean, dominant, etc., etc., and the other girl is into that persona, but not who she is as a person, and it's fascinating.
Oh my gosh. Sounds great.
It is great.
Yeah. So, what have you been reading? Aiara?
Let's see. I've I've been catching up on Witch Hat Atelier. I always do this thing
I
where
need to
it's
catch
like
up too.
I catch yeah, it's like I'll catch up to a point and then be like, I'm gonna give it more time to for more chapters come out so I can have more to read because I really like this manga. And then by the time I realize that Witch Hat Atelier exists again because Shirohama has retweeted something on my Twitter page, I'm like, wait, and I'm like 6 chapters behind
Yeah, I
because
remember where I
they're
left off
monthly,
because I've been reading it
but the
volume
month.
by volume.
Yeah, that's probably a better way to do it. I try and keep up with the monthly chapters, but it's like, nah, we binge every 6 months or so. But I've been catching up with Witch Hat Atelier. It's been getting crazy. It's been getting really crazy. But crazy in a fun way. And I'm glad that the arc that has been happening for like the past year and a half now is pretty much over. Um, let's see. I've been continuing on with that I guess you could call it a reverse harem manga, where it's called like There's No Freaking Way I'll Be Your Lover. There's an anime adaptation airing on YouTube right now, but I've been reading the manga alongside it, and it's been really cute.
I've heard of
Um,
that.
it's really cute. It's really cute, and it's really like the girls in it are very very well written. Like they feel convincingly like high schoolers in their first relationship. It's super cute. Definitely would recommend. And then of course Hellsing. Kind of fell behind on Hellsing a little bit, but have been catching up very, very slowly. And then I think that's it. Yeah, I think that's about it.
Yeah, for me, I'm actually gonna. I might have talked about it briefly before, but since we're talking about all this other stuff, I'll mention some fan fiction I've been reading because I only read one fan fiction author. I'm sure there's other I would like because I used to read a lot of different stuff when I was younger, but I kind of just stuck with this one author forever. I don't even know how long it's been at this point. Definitely at least 10 years probably. Named Koer Alaron, and he's this English dude who writes for some reason he fixates on Ruby and Ruby only, nothing else, just Ruby,
Nice.
the Rooster Teeth anime.
That's the best kind of fanfic author.
And what's crazy is that at this point all of his stories aren't even Ruby stories anymore. He makes such significant changes that you're like, bro, other than the character names, this isn't Ruby anymore. Just make it an original story.
It's its own thing,
and that's why I've
Story
been.
at least good.
Oh, they're incredible, all of them, and they all tend to
Nice.
usually focus around the character Jean because he's like the most blank slate character, so he can do anything with him. Um,
Hmm.
and yeah, it's crazy how far his stories have gone from being fan fiction to just being damn near original stories that he should just adapt. And he recently left his job, which because it like went under and he hated that job anyway. So now he's gonna like focus on writing. And yeah,
Not you
it's,
stalking this man.
he talks about this at the beginning of the chapters.
Yeah, sure.
He
In his apartment where you hide.
I promise he tells us about his life. Um, and yeah, those stories are really good. But I'm still reading The Poppy War, and it is so good. I think it was chapter 6. I swear I was reading chapter 6 and then I blinked and I was on chapter 8. I don't know what happened. And chapter 6 was great. So the story is about it takes place in this fictional version of like ancient China. And the main character is a war orphan who was raised by an abusive adopted family, and to escape them she had to pass this test to get into the most prestigious military school for free. She got in, and the story takes place, along her journey there. And in the first year, you essentially are trying to get the attention of one of the different masters to become one of their apprentices. And if you don't get an apprenticeship, you get kicked out. So she's working hard to get the apprenticeship. And like towards the end of it, it got real awesome as she started like learning martial arts and like getting to the top of the class. It was real cool. And then there was a bunch of different tests from the different masters for medicine and history and things like that. But then the very last test was a fighting tournament, was a martial arts tournament, and it was great. And this book's real good. I definitely suggest checking it out, Poppy War. But yeah, in terms of comics, I've read the latest issue of Ultimate X-Men, issue number 14. I read Fire and Ice numbers 2 and 3. Birds of Prey 23, Batman Dark Patterns number 8, Two-Face number 6, which was the final issue, but it didn't feel like final issue. It was weird. But that's done. Caught up on that. I also caught up on Fire and Ice. I've caught up on everything. It's great. It feels... No, that's not true. I'm not caught up on Nightwing. But I'll catch up on Nightwing soon enough. I read Absolute Superman number 9, Nightwing 122, Green Lantern Dark 2 through 5, Supergirl number 3, Absolute Batman number 10, Absolute Flash number 5, and Batman and Robin Year 1 number 9. Yeah, always reading a lot of comics. I need to catch up on Daredevil because I've been falling behind on that one. But moving on to the book club. So yeah, we are on the final issue of Wonder Woman Historia, The Amazons, issue number 3. Written by Sue DeConnick, pencils and ink in this issue by Nicholas Scott, colors by Annette Kwok, letters by Clayton Cowles, who's been doing letters for the whole thing, cover by Nicholas Scott, and edited by Chris Conroy and Andrea Shea. The synopsis for this issue: the third and final chapter of the critically lauded and Eisner-nominated Secret History of the Amazons crescendos with the inevitable and all-out war against the gods. When Zeus discovers the goddesses defy him by creating the Amazons, seemingly nothing can stop his fervor to eliminate their warriors, not even Hera herself. But the Amazons' numbers have grown, and there's a distinctly and unpredictably human element among their ranks, now in Hippolyta and the tribe she leads. Their very fight for existence will alter the course of history itself and bring about one of the greatest protectors the world has ever known. So yeah, the art is different again. At the end of last episode, I was excited. It's been several years since I read this the first time. So when I saw that Nicholas Scott was drawing the final issue, I got real excited because her art is amazing. And
hmm
with it, we're back to two-page spreads again. And just like the first issue, I can forgive them because they're so damn good. Uh, at the very end of the book, she goes into her process and discusses why she prefers to draw traditionally versus digitally. And it's revealed that she fully paints her pages in grayscale before sending them off to be colored, which isn't something
Wow.
a lot of American comic artists do. So that was very surprising to see. But what do you guys think of Nicholas Scott's art?
As I say, I think of all the artists that Historia has gone through, this one has been my favorite. I really, really like, because you can definitely see that like traditional, like very textured, very like color, like you can tell that it was colored in grayscale before it was sent off to colors. And I think that really lends to like kind of the mystical nature of the comic in general. Like I really liked it. I really enjoyed it a lot.
Same. I think the color was like very soft on the eyes and everything. Like there was certain panels where I was like, this doesn't look like it was done like digitally and like fully
Mhm.
colored as is. Like particularly the panel that I'm thinking of, I think it was like a spread. It was like I forgot her name, but she was going up against like Hercules.
I think
Like that
it's
whole frame where
Antiope.
hmm? Yeah, they were like facing each other. And I was like, this looks hand drawn.
Mhm.
Yeah,
I
that
don't know why that was like my favorite panel, but it was
I
like
think
very
that was
pleasing to
also
look at.
my favorite two-page spread in this issue.
Same. It's really good.
Yeah, and I think my favorite artist in the book so far is still the first artist, Phil Jimenez. I just love Phil Jimenez's art, but I think
Mhm.
that Nicholas Scott's a close second. But yeah, in terms of the story, um, as the synopsis says, this is the final chapter, and it deals with the Amazons' battle against the gods. Emphasis on gods because the goddesses, of course, are on the Amazon side. And as we discussed last issue, a young Amazon killed one boy, and it sparked the action of the king of the gods. But when Hera asked for justice for the millions of women being violated and murdered, he brushes her aside and said, "It's the natural order of things." But now this child dies, and he sends Heracles as the vanguard of his forces against the Amazons. And Heracles is taken out fast.
Yeah,
Listen,
I was not expecting it. I was like,
the
whoa, whoa.
the way they cooked Heracles was so funny to me because I was like, oh man, that's gonna be the whole rest of the chapter. It's gonna be like their uphill struggle against, and then they cooked him, and I was like, oh, okay. I'm not mad at it because I really think that's a very interesting angle to take, where it's like the strength of a bunch of women acting collectively is more powerful than the strongest man on earth. Like that's a really interesting angle to go from, and I think it really proves, like, it kind of aligns with the philosophy of the Amazons really well, where it's like we are not singular entities, we are a collective, and that is what makes us strong.
Yeah,
Like I really like
at a
that.
certain point, one of the Amazons says that we are all powerful, but we're not all powerful.
Hmm.
The panel after the carnage happened, like they were all looking down at him. They all looked so disgusted. I'm like, you guys did it. Why are you making that face?
I mean,
But at the same
they
time,
didn't
they
want to
didn't
have
want
to.
to do it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
they didn't want to have to do that, but they were given no choice.
Yeah.
And the fact that he was literally ripped apart is crazy. They
Yeah,
had
I
to
was like
put his
taking my
body.
time looking at that page where like they all were attacking him like everywhere. I had to like see who was doing what.
Yeah, they had to put his body into in pieces in bags. And then they made
At least they gave him the dignity of a proper burial.
Yeah.
Like, I know for a fact that if he would have won that fight, they would not have gotten that same honor.
no. And of course,
Said that.
Zeus saw
He was
that.
gonna defile them too.
Yes.
Like he even said that, and then I was like, they were so sweet, and then Hippolyta was like, oh yeah, if he actually got his way with us, then he would have done much worse. And I was like, that is also true.
Yeah, and then was it one of the Amazons said like, we can't judge him for things he hasn't done, and we can only act a way that we deem respectful.
Mm-hmm.
And this isn't how it went down in George Perez's run. I'll tell you that. And I'm curious. I think we should probably read that very first issue of George Perez's Wonder Woman. After this, just to compare and contrast, because that first issue of George Perez's Wonder Woman is essentially what these 3 issues contain, and it is just the origin of the Amazons, and it's different. Like I said, when I read that comic, because I'm still reading it, because he wrote that Wonder Woman comic for a long time, it's considered the best Wonder Woman comic. I lost my train of thought. What was I going to say? Oh, I essentially just replaced that with this. I go, no, this is the origin of the Amazons. That one is interesting to see.
Interesting good or interesting bad?
Right, you're scaring me.
Yes.
Oh.
Well, you'll see sooner rather than later.
I see.
But as much as it sucks to see, the story ends with the Amazons and the goddesses losing their battle against the patriarchy, and being banished to Paradise Island. And that, of course, is meant to, set up the civilization that Wonder Woman would go on to grow up in. But also, it's a clear representation of the fact that, we've still not completely beaten that beast. Things are a lot better for women, but they're still not ideal. So, stories like this are still necessary. Not that they'll ever be unnecessary, but they're more necessary now than ever. And Wonder Woman is very important. And we've barely gotten to her yet, because this book ends with the birth of Diana, aka Wonder Woman, sculpted by Hippolyta in sand rather than clay in this book, and brought to life by the goddesses, using the soul of the child that Hippolyta sent down the river in issue 1 that died. And Hera snatched up the soul and said, I'll save this for later.
Man, everything coming like full circle was great.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This book, this chapter, despite being, I think, longer than the second chapter, it felt shorter. Because
it didn't feel longer.
Because it was mostly action, and it was wrapping up the story, so it didn't feel super long. And I don't have like super extensive notes this time around, because like the big points are kind of just everything that I said, but also I guess the part that happened towards the middle that we can talk about is just Hippolyta beating the gods and playing on behalf of the Amazons, and that whole scene, and just Zeus sucks.
Sucks so bad.
He just sucks.
You can tell Apollo's the favorite, because like, what do you mean? He was like, I want the girl, and I want them banished, and I want to watch them. And it's like, what?
It's like, you can't have all 3.
Like, we get it. He's gonna have all 3.
Like, we get it. You're Papa's special little boy, but like, come on, man. You're grown.
Literally. It's like, oh, they disrespected me, Daddy. Help me, please.
Right. He's like, Apollo's interpretation in this very much gives me trust fund kid, which I think is purposeful, but it's also very funny.
Yeah.
Yeah, was it Artemis?
Like, usually
Artemis like manages to convince Zeus to give her one night with the Amazons a month, because she said that because she hates being his twin, and that's the only reason. And Zeus was like, okay, fine.
Right.
She just hates that she's Apollo's twin.
I would too, honestly. But I do like that they gave that kind of characterization to Apollo, because usually that falls on Ares in like Greek myth adapted for like modern audiences. It's like, oh, Ares is the favorite because he's a warmonger, this, that, and the third. And it's like, it's nice to see the favoritism go somewhere else and how that changes the dynamic of the story. Like, I'm fascinated by it.
Yeah, and in this, despite being the god of war, Ares is trying to be a bit of a peacekeeper, and he goes to Hera and is like, you got to stop this, otherwise they're all gonna die. And he's like, and Hera's like, okay, they stop fighting and die, or they die fighting. They'd rather die fighting.
Right. And I think a big part of that is because Ares and Aphrodite have like a thing in Greek myth. So like I think that there was definitely some affection behind that gesture, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Also, Loki, he looked like Kratos. I
he
was like,
did.
little
Kratos.
I think,
bit.
and I
doing
think
here?
that I wonder. I was reading it, going, he looks like Kratos. Is that on purpose?
Right?
Is it on purpose that the god of war looks like the god of war? And maybe not. But yeah, he also is like one of the only, I think, 3 children that are actually from Hera and Zeus: Ares,
Right.
Aphrodite, and Hephaestus are the
Mhm.
only children that are actually the children of Zeus and Hera, whereas everybody else are like children of other like children of like Titans and like other goddesses. um, and Dionysus, his origin is different everywhere. Sometimes he's a chthonic god,
Yeah.
sometimes he's not. And here he's a, you know, an Olympian, but we don't know who his parents are necessarily. um, but yeah, it's that is very the dynamics, the different dynamics between them is very interesting. And Hera goes to Dionysus in this and gets him
Mhm.
to lie on her behalf, to convince Zeus, or specifically convince Apollo to then convince Zeus, as he's the favorite son, as you said, to send them to the island of Themyscira as punishment rather than killing them, because he convinces him that that's worse. That's a face worse than death. And by the end of the comic, you get the feeling that they feel like that initially, because they do kind of like shun Hippolyta once they realize what she's done. And Hippolyta goes to kill herself.
Yeah, that was intense. I was on the edge of my seat. I was like, after all that, and here we are.
Yeah, I knew it wasn't gonna happen because I read it, but I was like, damn, that's crazy.
I thought it was gonna happen. I mean,
Yeah, same.
it makes sense because she feels so much guilt because she's thinking she's doing like the right thing, and then when she made the baby in the sand and just went off into the water, I was like, oh my gosh, my heart. I almost cried a little bit. I'm not gonna lie. It was very late when I
Yeah.
read this.
I love this book. This is the perfect introduction to the world of Wonder Woman. It's so good. Like, I'll always be like, if somebody wants to get into Wonder Woman, read Wonder Woman Historia. It's short, it's sweet, it gets you into the world of the Amazons.
Sweet.
And I mean, sweet as in it's good.
I know what you mean.
And yeah, it gets you into the world. It establishes some small things, but doesn't dive deep into it. Like I mentioned Hermes a while ago. They don't dive into Hermes and his part in the creation of Wonder Woman. So we'll have to get into that in the first issue of George Perez's run. Because he doesn't show up again after that first issue, actually.
Oh wow.
And then, or the first issue of this one, I mean. And George Perez's run, he's all over the place. But, and then there's the Well of Souls. They mention it, but not much else. Like whenever somebody dies, they mention like, oh, their soul will go to the Well of Souls, and like that's a very specific thing. I did mention it last episode that the Well of Souls are how Amazons are reborn. On Themyscira, specifically Amazons that are die due to man's violence in man's world. And then there's one more thing. Oh, Ares, major Wonder Woman villain. He's up there.
Really?
And I was gonna say I'm excited to get there, but only God knows when we're gonna get there, because we're definitely not. If we read George Perez's run at some point, we're of course only gonna read like the first volume because he wrote that comic for like damn near a decade. We're not reading the whole thing.
Oh wow.
That would
Yeah, dang.
be us reading that comic for a decade down here. But I've read most of it, and I would actually be interested in going back and rereading that first volume. But yeah, I love this comic. How did you guys like it overall?
I liked
think
it a
was
lot.
a great introduction.
Yes, especially like, does this like make you interested in going like, okay, now I know about the Amazons. Now I want to know about Wonder Woman.
Yeah, I was
Yeah.
gonna say I want to know more about Wonder Woman after all that.
Right. I wish that this particular writer, and they might have, I don't know. I wish this particular writer did a run of Wonder Woman like beyond this, because I would totally read it
Mhm.
like in a heartbeat.
Let me see if she did, because I don't know if she did. It doesn't seem like. Ooh, did she write? No, she didn't write Paradise Lost. That was Greg Rucka. Yeah, it doesn't seem like she wrote another one. She did write Captain Marvel, which is cool. Yeah, she wrote some Aquaman, some Avengers, a lot of Captain Marvel. But yeah, it seems like that's the only Wonder Woman one she did. But you let me tell you something though. Damn, what's her name? Kelly Thompson. Now that's a goddamn Wonder Woman writer right there. She's writing Absolute Wonder Woman, which is awesome, and I think we're gonna read that after Absolute Batman.